picture a world where no one is spared from the gallows, not traitors, not criminals, not even an 11-year-old girl. In the brutal reign of King Henry VIII, one story cuts deeper than the rest: the execution of Alice Glaston, the youngest person ever hanged in England. What could a child have done to deserve such a horrific fate? And what does her story reveal about a king whose rule was drenched in blood and fear? Join us as we uncover this heartbreaking tale of power, paranoia, and a justice system that crushed even the innocent. Stick around, hit that like button, share with your friends, and subscribe to keep these forgotten stories alive. King Henry VIII is one of history's most infamous monarchs, known for his 6 marriages, his seismic split from the Catholic Church, and a reign defined by ruthless control. When he took the throne in 1509, England was still reeling from the Wars of the Roses, a bloody civil war that had torn the nation apart for decades. Determined to unify the kingdom under his absolute authority, Henry ruled with an iron fist. His charisma and ambition were matched only by his paranoia and cruelty. Treason was a death sentence, and in Henry's eyes, treason wasn't just plotting against the crown. It could be as simple as a wrong word, a minor theft, or a perceived slight. No one was safe, not nobles, not advisors, not his own wives, and not even children. Henry's England was a place where justice was swift, brutal, and often merciless. The legal system made no distinction between adults and children. A child as young as 7 could be tried as an adult, and crimes like theft, trespassing, or speaking out against authority could lead to the gallows. Public executions were spectacles designed to strike fear into the hearts of the people and reinforce the king's power. Nobles might face the axe in the Tower of London, but for commoners, the gallows awaited in towns and villages across the land. It was in this unforgiving world that an 11-year-old girl named Alice Glaston met her tragic end. Alice Glaston's story is one of the most haunting from Henry VIII's reign. In 1540, in the small town of Much Wenlock, Shropshire, this young girl was executed by hanging, making her the youngest known person to suffer such a fate in English history. Little is known about her life before that fateful day. She was likely a commoner, perhaps from a poor family, living a simple life far from the royal courts of London. Unlike the high-profile executions of queens like Anne Boleyn or advisors like Thomas Cromwell, Alice's death didn't shake the foundations of the monarchy. But its simplicity makes it all the more chilling. A child, barely old enough to understand the world, caught in the relentless machinery of Tudor justice. What could Alice have done to deserve such a punishment? The records are murky, but historians speculate she may have been accused of theft, a crime that carried the death penalty in Tudor England, even for minors. Others suggest she might have been swept up in the era's harsh legal system, where minor offenses or false accusations could lead to execution if local authorities deemed it necessary. Whatever the charge, it's clear that Alice posed no real threat to the crown or the kingdom. Her execution wasn't about justice, it was about control. A grim reminder that in Henry's England, no one was spared. The Tudor legal system was a labyrinth of cruelty. Trials for commoners like Alice were quick and merciless. There was no legal defense, no right to appeal, and no leniency for youth. Once accused, the odds were stacked against the defendant. Evidence, often flimsy or based on hearsay, was enough to secure a conviction. Sentences were carried out within days, sometimes hours. Alice's trial likely took place in a local court in Much Wenlock, before a magistrate or landowner. The judge would have heard the charges, perhaps theft, perhaps a minor act of defiance. With no one to speak for her, no advocate to plead her case, Alice's fate was sealed the moment she was arrested. The sentence was death by hanging, a punishment as common for a child as it was for an adult. Imagine the terror of an 11-year-old girl facing such a fate. As Alice awaited her execution, the reality must have sunk in the fear, the confusion, the sheer injustice of it all. She wasn't a hardened criminal or a political rival. She was a child, likely innocent of any serious wrongdoing, yet the law showed no mercy. In Tudor England, childhood was no shield against punishment. The same gallows that claimed traitors and rebels now awaited a girl who should have been playing, learning, or dreaming of a future she would never have. The day of Alice's execution arrived, and it was a grim spectacle. Public hangings in Tudor England were events, drawing crowds eager to witness the king's justice. But this time, the figure on the scaffold was no rebel or thief, it was a child. Alice, likely trembling with fear, was led to the gallows in Much Wenlock's public square. There was no mercy, no last-minute reprieve. Tudor executions were brutal, often involving slow strangulation rather than the quick neck-breaking drop of later centuries. The executioner, accustomed to dealing with adults, now faced the unthinkable task of hanging a child. As the noose was placed around her neck, did Alice cry out for her mother? Did she understand why she was there? We may never know. What we do know is that the trap was pulled, and for several agonizing moments, the crowd watched as an 11-year-old girl struggled against the rope. Then silence. Alice Glaston, the youngest known person executed in England, was gone. After her death, life in Tudor England carried on. There was no public outcry, no reconsideration of laws that condemned children to death. Executions were a common occurrence under Henry VIII, and Alice was just another name lost to history. But centuries later, her story resurfaced, a haunting reminder of the cruelty of the past. Historians still debate the exact circumstances of her crime, but one truth remains clear. Alice was a victim of a legal system that saw no distinction between adult and child, between guilty and innocent. Her death serves as a stark reminder of how far justice has come and how fragile it can be. Henry VIII's reign was defined by power and paranoia. He executed not just political rivals, but trusted advisors, close friends, and even his own wives. The executions of Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard are well known, but the story of Alice Glaston is equally significant. It shows the extent of Henry's control, a king who ruled with such absolute authority that even a child could be sacrificed to maintain it. In a world where mercy was rare and power ruled above all, Alice's fate was a tragedy that echoed the countless lives lost to the gallows. As we reflect on Alice's story, we're reminded of the importance of justice, compassion, and fairness. Her execution was a product of a time when power was unchecked, and the law served the crown, not the people. Today, we have the chance to learn from the past, to build a world where no child faces such cruelty, where justice means fairness, not control. Alice Glaston's name may have been forgotten for centuries, but by sharing her story, we can honor her memory and ensure that history's lessons are never lost. This is the story of Alice Glaston, a child who faced the unimaginable in a world ruled by fear. Her tale reminds us to fight for a future where justice lifts up the innocent, not tears them down. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel to keep uncovering the hidden stories of history. Together, we can shine a light on the past and inspire a better tomorrow. Let's make Alice's story a call to action. Stand for compassion, stand for fairness, stand for change. Like, share, subscribe, and let's keep history alive.